Today's guests are Ron Slifer and Gary Easley. Ron and Gary are lifelong hunters and outdoorsmen, and together they run Ron Slifer's Bloodhound Service. On today's show, they tell the absolutely amazing story of one of the most craziest 36-hour periods you will ever hear anybody experience. So please enjoy episode 10 with Ron Slifer and Gary Easley. Thank you. So I want to thank you guys for being here today. We've been kind of trying to get this together, and I know everybody's busy and
life gets busy.
Life gets busy. But thank you both. And I mean that. I really do appreciate you taking your time out. Before we get to the story, which to me is one of the most amazing stories. I mean, outside of a war zone, in polite society, you have one of the most amazing stories I think ever. So before we get to that, I kind of want to do a little background. Where are you guys from? And, you know, what was your upbringing like?
Sure. Yeah, I was born and raised in the little town of Fancher, where I started out at. So,
yeah.
You know where Fancher is.
I sure do.
Or Moat area. And then, so went to school at Beecher City. We moved to Shumway as a kid. Went to school, graduated at Beecher City in 82. So that gives a little bit on my age. Just turned 60 in July.
Okay.
So, hunted all through high school and stuff, just kind of continued on and hunted after school and stuff. Was a full-time bow hunter for 24 years. Hung that up and then started tracking deer 12 years ago. So,
Gary, what about you?
I was born and raised down Mason, yep, and
the only boy out of the family. How many sisters you got, Gary?
8 sisters.
Feel sorry for that guy.
Oh. That's why then they
That's
wonder
why you're nuts.
That's why they wonder why I hunt all the time.
Right. Well, yeah, just to
get out of the house
and kind of get a break. Yeah. So, you both are obviously hunters. You grew up hunting, but you kind of switched over more to the blood trailing.
Yeah. Gary still hunts yet today. He bow hunts and stuff. Matter of fact, he just bought the new Matthews, got it, and he hunts, but he tracks more than he hunts. It keeps us pretty busy. Back when, like I said, 12 years ago, I was a bow hunter for 24 years up to that point, and that transition, I tried to do both, hunting and tracking. It didn't work so well because when I was in a tree stand, I get a phone call or a text saying, I need your dog to help. So I'm one I can't say no. So all my hunts were getting ruined pretty much. You know, word of mouth got out, reputation. I had a dog that could find deer. I had to go help. So, and it was kind of a good thing because I was getting burnt out. At 24 years of bow hunting, you do get burnt out a little bit sometimes. I was at that burnout stage, and it was great for the dog because once I made that conscious decision and hung the bow up, I was out with the dog every time. We went out every call we could get. And my way of thinking at that point was, the more we get out there, the better we're going to get.
Sure.
You know, and it's just practice, repetition, whatever, learning each other, me and the dog. And that's how it kind of clicked. It worked. I just became a full-time tracker and quit hunting.
I'll be darned. Now, Gary, did you grow up any kind of hound hunting?
Hunting,
coyote dogs? Or?
Yeah, Dad used to train bird dogs, beagles, so we'd done that for probably 20, 30 years. Then I got into coyote dogs, and I just sold 31 head, 2 years ago, or a year ago, because I didn't have time to coyote hunt, so I got rid of them, and now all I do is track and hunt.
At this point, how many blood trails do you think you guys have been on? Do you have a number? Do you have an idea?
I'd have to go back and review the records. I didn't keep a lot of records the first few years, but on average right now I'm telling you right now, it's probably 130, 140 tracks a season.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So with my job, I've been at my job for the city of Effingham for 33 years, and I save all my vacation and comp time, work time for the fall of the year, and they allow that. They allow me to do that. I'm great to let the employer lets me do that. So I'm able to get out. And then Gary's work, he's seasonal. He's usually off that time of year anyway. So it works out great, the combination of me and him as a team and what we do. It goes hand in hand, and it works pretty good. We always joke around. It's kind of like a Batman and Robin thing. You know, we're just a team. We get out and do what we do.
Sure. Well, I know you guys have a heck of a reputation. I mean, everybody that I know in my circles, and I retired from the prison up at Taylorville, which is quite a
Gotcha.
ways north,
Yeah.
and then guys north of there coming down. Your name is, that's the name you hear a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate enough when I started 12 years ago, social media was starting to get big, and I saw that coming and Facebook and whatnot. And basically, the only format I use is Facebook, but I knew I'd have that captive audience sitting in a tree stand. I was a bow hunter myself. You're bored. You're going to sit in a tree stand. You're going to scroll on your phone. So I could capture these hunters, male, female hunters out there in the tree stand, and I could capture them with these articles or posts I make and hopefully make it entertaining and educational, and it kind of worked because, they're captive. I got them, and the following came.
Now, I'm guessing most of the time people get a hold of you, it's because it's a big deer. Typically.
Generally, yeah, and that is the case most often. But we'll track any deer. Gary will testify to this. We very rarely get a track for a doe. It very rarely happens. But I know there's does getting shot and not found. We'll track does. We'll track little deer. And Gary will also tell you too, the best tracks we have sometimes is for those first kids, the kids' first deer. Gary's just a sucker for kids. I am too.
Sure.
But Gary just loves doing those first kids tracks.
Oh, I bet that's a moment. That picture right there. Well, my son that you just met.
Yeah.
That was his first deer, and that's
that only happens once in your life.
Right.
It's a heck of a moment. And, it's really stressful on a kid, too. It puts pressure on them when they can't find the deer and they call us and the dog does it. It's not me and Gary so much. It's more the dog than anything.
Yeah.
We're a team. The handler's part of the team. But, man, that dog's doing all the work for us.
sure.
We're just following the dog.
Yeah.
The dog's doing it all.
Yeah. Now, what would you say, like your recovery rate, as far as how many times you go out on a track versus, what are your odds?
Yeah. It's going to, on average, the 12 years I've done it, it's going to be somewhere between 40 and 50%. The national average, I think, is just a touch lower than that. And there's two ways to look at that recovery. We look at it as a deer we put on the tailgate. Some trackers out there, there's going to be a lot of trackers out there. Some trackers might throw in that number plus the deer they jumped up. They found the deer. The deer got up and ran off from them. It's not dead yet. The dog done its job, and they'll count that as a recovery to push the rates a little better,
Sure.
better percentage. But to me, it's black and white. Either you put the deer on the tailgate or you don't, and it's not our fault we didn't,
And that's because you're a hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of you come from the hunting background, so know at the end of the day, I want to be able to put my hands on that.
And it kind of takes away from the dog because, the dog did do its thing.
Sure.
It really did. It's just the shot wasn't as great as what it should have been. Or
the relationship you guys have with these dogs. Now, I know I've watched your videos with Dio. That was your buddy there.
Yeah.
Can you get into that? I mean, you're spending a lot of time. He's doing what he's supposed to do. People, I don't think,
So I growing up, I had friends that had hunting dogs and stuff, and the coon dogs and stuff. We did some coon hunting as well when I was younger. Back then, I remember they always said, "Don't touch my dog. It's a working dog. It's not a pet. Don't touch my dog." And Dio was my first working dog I ever had. I had dogs all through my life. They were strictly pets, but not a working dog. And Dio, I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to build a bond with him, get that closeness, thinking it's going to be better. And it did. It worked out really well because I think he went above and beyond to do what I wanted him to do.
He's a bit of a legend.
Yeah. Yeah, he really is. And to share that with people, and then Gary helped me out handle. Gary got really close to Dio, and it worked really well. All breeds are different. A bloodhound you can do that with. Some dogs are just gritty, I think, that you can't do that with. You can't build a bond with them. They're just strictly a working dog. They just don't work out as a pet. But
sure,
bloodhound breed, been around them for 12 years now, and currently got 9 right now, and a litter as well. It works really well with that breed.
Now, do you whittle that down to your hunters? So if you have X amount of dogs and then you start training them and then, okay, this one's showing more potential, this one, you kind of gravitate towards those as far as your working dogs?
Yeah, pretty much, and dogs, I've learned this through litters before. Some dogs show a lot of potential early on and other dogs don't, but I think they all got it. You just got to find the way to bring it out in them. The drive, they talk about the drive in a dog. You got to find that magic button or that light switch to turn off on.
Sure.
I had a dog one time. It was through Dio's bloodline, and couldn't get the dog to track for nothing. It was a male dog. His name was Teddy. And we worked. And I thought, this dog is not going to be a tracking dog. And then one day we was practicing with him, and it was like the proverbial light switch switched on. And I've heard other handlers say that before. They've had dogs where the light switch come on, it all clicked, and like it was on then. You know?
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it's just a patience thing. All dogs are different. They're just like people.
Sure. So you guys get a call to come out. You show up on the scene. You've got your dogs. You're kind of checking out. A lot of it, I know you want to hear what the hunter had to say because that's critical.
Yeah.
What's the worst mistake that hunters make typically? And I think I probably know. I would guess I know.
I'll let Gary say that. I'll let Gary talk on that.
What's the worst thing they do to blow it?
Lie to us right off the bat.
Okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that.
That's good.
Yeah.
They lie right off the bat. They don't tell what they've been doing. Like, we ask if they grid search. No, we only went this far. Well, you talk to them more, then you start to track and get down there. Then I get watching her, and she's back and forth.
She's
back
struggling,
and forth.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, you see tracks in the creek. And I stopped and turned around. And I said, who walked down here? Oh, yeah, we did go that far. Well, you should have told us before we started. Now I got to search through your grid search more because I thought she was on, but she wasn't. But most of it is getting down too soon, chasing the deer.
The weight.
The weight is the biggest thing. Not 5 minutes, not 10, not a half an hour. 2 to 3 hours is the main. Then if you don't see enough blood, don't keep going. Call a dog in.
Yeah. That was the biggest deer I ever shot with a bow. I lost. I was younger, and came back to the house.
Did blood sucker you in or something? Did you get down? Was there a lot of blood? Or
it was a halfway decent shot. I ended up hitting the animal further back than the shot wasn't a good. I shouldn't have took the shot.
Yeah.
Okay, because it was quartering towards me. It was back behind me.
Yeah.
And I thought I had a pretty good record of putting deer down. And at that time, I'm sitting there, and I never used a sight. I always sighted down the arrow.
Oh wow. And
so I'm back, and I'm looking, and I know I can hug that front shoulder blade, and I know I can put it right in there. I'm going to get a. I know I knew it, and it was a little far back and a little low. I got a lung, at least one. And anyway, I come back, and Daryl and some neighbors, they came down, and we waited, but we didn't wait long enough, and we went back out, and we bumped him, and off he went. And then, from there.
That first bump, it pumps them up, and they're gone.
That adrenaline run, those deer can go a long ways on that adrenaline run.
Okay, let's say you do everything right. You make a marginal shot, okay? The deer's going to die, and you don't bump it. And I know I'm asking, there's a lot of what
variables.
Ifs. I mean, there's so many variables that come in.
Yeah.
That you don't bump it. When they get up, because I've seen this too, where they'll get up and they'll go 15, 20 yards bed down. Then you'll see another 10 yards and they'll bed down. It seems like when they're getting close to dying, I think they're uncomfortable. They're kind of trying to get air. Do you typically see that?
Yeah.
Or
you do. You'll see anywhere from 3 to 8 to 15 beds. And then you go for a bit, and then if there's water, that's where they're going to head. So they're going to the creek, the bed along the creek, till they get so fevered up they got to get in.
We see that a lot. They'll head to water, and we also see where they'll take the elevation. They'll go to the high ground because they like to check their backtrack. We found deer.
Really?
Yeah, so we've seen that. There's just little things that we've seen in the past, and there's that other thing we've seen where it's called a J hook. Basically, the deer is going down a path or a track, and then it turns and it doubles back on itself to face the backtrack to see what's coming after it off to the side.
Is that after they've been bumped, or is that something you think they just kind of do naturally?
They do natural most time.
But they're master deceivers.
Yeah.
We've seen deer jump them up on the track, and their head are down. It's like they're struggling, and we'll back off and come back the next day and can't find that freaking deer, and it shows up on camera. I mean, it's just they're masters of deceit. They fool you. They're amazing animals and tough.
A mature whitetail deer is they are incredible.
And
tough.
throw that in during the rut.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the things we've seen and stuff is just unbelievable, incredible.
What's the furthest track that you've
there was 4.6. I think I did a track one time.
Holy cow, 4.6 miles.
You know, and unfortunately we had enough real estate to do that. It wasn't all straight line. It was all wandering around and stuff.
Sure.
And it ended up being a leg injured deer. We just pushed it enough. We didn't know it at the time. It had a busted up leg, but we was consistently getting blood the whole time pretty much after we kicked it up, and finally tired it out. But we was tired too after that.
Oh
much,
man, that's
you know. But it took a following up shot to finish it off.
Right. And I know too in Illinois, you can't just cut your dog off a leash.
No.
He's got to be on a leash.
No, you're absolutely correct. Got to maintain physical control of the dog at all times, and that becomes a gray area too, because like if a deer's wounded, is it mortally wounded or not? Because otherwise, it comes a point where we're actually hunting the deer and not tracking the deer.
Right.
You know, and sometimes we don't know if it's mortally wounded or not. You know, but if they're still bleeding, it's kind of fair game in my book. If
Absolutely.
It's hurt, you know.
Well, and you're doing what you can to put down a wounded animal.
Yeah.
And to me, from that point, once the animal's wounded, from that point on, everything you're doing to recover it
absolutely
is honorable, you know. But I would think just that silly leash going in thick brush. You know, sometimes there's thick brush. It's hard to walk through, let alone you got a lead
Crawl
on a dog.
through it.
Cornfields are the best, ain't they, Gary?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. One question my son wanted me to ask you, and I know it's like getting into politics.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this way. I'm going to ask a couple. When you come up on a blood trail and you look, and without anything from the hunter, would you be able, do you think, to discern between whether it was a fixed blade broadhead or an expandable blade?
It would be hard to be 100% positive, but you could almost with some certainty. It has a lot of variables, but I would say a mechanical broadhead is probably, if you get a muscle type wound, you're going to have a lot more blood and it's going to fool you. And that'll be one thing. If I see a lot of blood, a lot of blood, it's just because that large gaping wound, likely muscle or brisket or something, and it's going to bleed a lot, but it takes a lot to bleed a deer out.
Sure.
You know,
and they can go a long way bleeding.
Yeah. You know, and I did some research on that. 150-pound deer takes 44 ounces. So over a 40-ounce beer can of blood before it dies of
Holy
shock.
cow.
And so that's a lot. And sometimes, you know, they clot really quick. It's just the vitamin K in their blood. It's a clotting factor. But throw that in during rut, they clot extremely quick. You know, you've probably been on blood trails before, massive blood trails, and they just abruptly end. Like, what the hell happened?
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know? But so those big, large mechanical broadheads that cut, like you shave, if you're shaving, you're going to cut yourself and you're going to bleed profusely. You cut yourself on, if you shave your head, that's going to bleed a lot. It just does, you know, but you're not going to die from it.
So you haven't noticed a difference as far as, I'll say, mortality rates on the deer that you've recovered between whether it's a fixed blade or expandable, or have you noticed? Have you noticed typically one does better than the other? Yes.
Yep.
And what's your opinion? And
the fixed cuts all the way through, and the mechanical, they're open, and you don't know which way they're going.
Yeah.
They catch a rib, they shoot up, they shoot down, they go sideways. They might make a U-turn and come right back out the same way.
That sounds impossible, but we saw that happen.
Bunch.
So it's arrow deflection. When those broadheads, depends on the type of broadhead, on the mechanical, how they open. Some of them pivot and whatnot, but, you know, certain brands, there's a lot of them that just, the way they expand, they slow down the velocity of the arrow for one thing, or the bolt, whatever you're shooting with. It's that impact, the velocity slows down because those blades have got to open. But if they hit something hard, like Gary said, you hit a rib or a bone. I mean, I remember doing a track one time, and the deer was shot perfectly broadside at 20 yards, should have blew through the deer. We ended up tracking the deer, found the deer, and when I found the deer, the arrow was hanging out the ass of the deer. How does that happen?
So it basically went in.
And turned.
And then turned, almost did like a right angle, and came out. Holy cow.
But we also documented one that had an entrance and an exit on the same side.
Yep.
Explain that.
Hold on. Okay. Same side. Okay. How in the world would that happen? I mean, ballistically, that doesn't
it don't make sense, but if everything's happening at once, you're talking about all these variables. If that arrow was to deflect and the deer was in movement at that time or whatever, twisting or whatever, it can happen. And it did. We've seen that happen.
Was the arrow broke? It about had to have got broke off inside, and maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
The arrow wasn't in there. It was gone.
Yeah. So weird.
Yep.
I'm telling you, this is weird things.
It almost thinks it had been hit before. It had to have been somebody shot it before.
No, it's fresh. Blood coming out both holes.
Yeah, that's
They do a lot of tricks, man. I tell you what, some of the shots we see, they hit, and you'd be amazed where they go.
I'll be darned. Yeah, that's why.
And that's why everybody says they seen arrow go in there. Well, they seen arrow, but it's turned. It went out a different spot.
I think probably poundage would have to do the poundage that the person is shooting would come into play at some
Well, we
point.
see crossbows do it same. Them
Really?
Spanables, they go everywhere.
So you're a fixed blade guy more or
Oh,
less.
yeah, muzzy.
Muzzies.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm probably, people are going to be upset. That's all right, though.
Well,
it's a good debate. It's like, the 45 versus the 9mm.
Yeah.
It can open up a can of worms, but it's also educational. I'm not knocking the mechanicals. They do work. Obviously, if I bash them, there's going to be a guy pull his phone out, and this deer didn't go 20 yards. It happens.
Absolutely.
So, but just in me and Gary's way, we're both older, of course, over 60 or whatever, but I would shoot muzzies if it was myself, and I was still hunting, I would shoot a muzzie. That's what I shot back in the day. But in my way of thinking, mechanical broadhead, you've got to rely upon that thing to open. You're always going to wonder, is it going to open?
Right.
And then the durability of it. I just see so many broken blades on these mechanical broadheads. And some of them are probably knockoffs. That's probably part of their Chinesium.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the blades break.
Right.
And you're greatly diminishing the chance of killing that deer. When the blade breaks, you're screwed.
My biggest deal, because I always shot fixed blade, and then I'd switched over. I wanted to try this was, I don't know, back when they first come out.
Yeah.
They had those rocket heads, and I liked the tip of them. And so the first deer I shot was a decent deer. It wasn't real big. It was an 8-pointer, and I shot him through his shoulder blade. Blew right through his shoulder blade, got an exit. I was sold. I'm like, and I always had pretty good luck with them. Now I'm going to a stick and a string.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going back to a recurve, and there's no way I'm going to shoot an expandable. I'm going to go to the 2-blade, the old school.
The old cutter blade.
Yep. I'm gonna do her that way. Yeah. Okay. So you guys have been doing this for a while. I had a question. Have you guys ever met anybody I'll call famous within the hunting, TV, whatever you want to call them? Have you had any dealings with celebrity hunters?
Yes. One of them's Levi Morgan. We did a track for him and made his TV show. He put us on the show.
Final
Draw that did the dedicated show when Dio passed away. We found the deer of the season before Dio passed away, and they made the whole show and named the show after Dio's buck. And that's what the name of the show was. So, and the whole show was dedicated to that more so the track and Dio and Dio's life.
Dave Blanton.
Dave Blanton was another one.
Jury Boys.
Yep.
So you rubbed elbows with a few of
bunch
them.
of them.
Yeah.
There's a few out there, yeah.
Now, do you guys go to like the Whitetail Classic and that kind of thing, or
I do.
Yep.
You go up there? And you've tracked out of state, is that right?
Yeah, it's not been so much lately. In the past, I've been to Missouri. We've been to Kentucky 2 times, I think, and then Indiana as well, all the neighboring states. Nowadays, and that was a few years ago, nowadays there's a lot of state networks. We've got our own state network here in Illinois that I was part of, the Illinois Deer Illinois Deer Trackers Network. I'm sorry. That's on Facebook. Real good organization. Several trackers on there. There's an interactive map. If you go to that Illinois Deer Trackers network, you can click on the map of Illinois, and it'll pull up a list of trackers on their little dots where they're located. Just click on the dot, and it'll pull up the information of that tracker, give you information or whatever. So they're kind of scattered throughout the state. There's, I don't know how many members there is now, probably 18 to 20 that's in this network. But it's grown so tremendously, tracking with dogs throughout the years, and social media has promoted it or whatever, that we probably haven't been out of state in a few years now. It's been a while. I think
Indiana last year.
I guess we did go to Indiana a couple times, but and I'm not too far from it. We're not too far, 90 miles from Terre Haute.
Right.
So, in the grand scheme of things, I think one of the longest tracks we went on here recently was Downers Grove, Chicago.
Yep.
Holy cow, Chicago.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
like I'm getting a call to go to Downers Grove, Chicago, and it was well worth the trip.
And you're standing in the weeds looking up the skyscrapers.
Yeah.
That's gotta be crazy. So it's one of those little suburban areas where they say you can hunt from here to here to here.
Yep.
And you always hear that huge buck's eye
There's some
there.
big ones.
There is.
And that doesn't surprise me because we know, a big whitetail, they do things that defy logic a lot, especially the big boys.
Well, and that was a 197-inch deer.
Holy cow.
know?
Holy cow.
So,
My problem is I can't stop shooting those 120, 130 inch. I'm 50 years old. So, I started bow hunting back in the 80s when just seeing a deer, you got excited. I tried to explain that to my son. I'm like, because he'll get on me. Why do you keep shooting? And I'm like, man, that's a good buck to me. Yeah. That's a nice buck.
Yeah, I've said that to people in the past, like when I would ride the school bus back in the late 70s and 80s, if somebody said, there's a deer in the field, everybody was looking that way.
Yeah.
It's like they couldn't believe it.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, there's a deer. Big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to the story.
Okay.
So just take it away.
Yep. So I'm not for sure on the date, but I know it was October 20th or
Around
something.
October 20th.
22, a couple years ago. Got a call the evening before we did the track. The hunter had called, sent me a picture of the deer, told me the details of what had happened. Couldn't find any blood from the hit site or anything. Didn't know a whole lot. I said, well, being at your target buck, we're going to let this deer wait. We're not going to come in tonight and push the deer. Dead deer goes nowhere. 100%. You can't dispute that. Said target deer, that's what we're going to do. So the night goes through. Gary get a hold of Gary, tell him, hey, the first track of the day, we're going to head down and do this track. That's our first track of the day. And load up, get down there, talk to the hunter, get a few more details. When we start the track, I always start out with a prayer. Take a knee and say a prayer in the field there.
I love that. Yeah. I've seen you on YouTube. I think that is awesome.
I appreciate that.
No, and I mean that. More people need to. Yeah.
Well, it's an opportune time to do it, and give thanks for what he provides for us. Did that, started off the track. Gary was handling Jewel. I was going to hold back with the hunter. And that's what I do. Gary handles Jewel quite a bit. He used to handle Dio as well. And I miss that because he's getting to have all the fun. I'm getting to sit back with the hunter and doing all the BS with the hunter. It's not BS, but sometimes it just gets, sure. I'd rather be behind the dog.
Oh, yeah.
But Gary's out there running her, and she angles off through the bean field, going at a fairly decent pace, and he finally gets on blood, and he's indicating to us that, hey, I'm on it, dog's on it. So we're falling behind him, and they eventually get into this huge field of CRP. It's probably mostly waist, chest-high stuff, and those deer love that stuff. They love to take cover. We find a lot of deer in that thick CRP. It's perfect.
Yeah.
They get in there, they're hurt, they lay down, they feel safe. They get in there a good ways, and next thing I know, Gary stops. And he said, man, I got a wound bed here, a lot of blood, and I got another. It's like 3 or 4 wound beds out there where he's standing. So he waits for us. We advance to him, me and the hunter, and we're standing there talking, just trying to analyze things at the time, like, what's this deer done now? It's bedded 4 times. It's probably hurt pretty good. All the beds were in close proximity. And the hunter had his crossbow. It's totally legal in Illinois during legal hunting hours. You can take your hunting device with you. We just can't do it at night. You got to put everything away at night. You're poaching at that point.
Sure.
So at least Illinois did that right. They allow that because we can get that follow-up shot. So he had his crossbow. Wasn't loaded at the time, but he asked, he said, well, what should I do? Should I load this or what? And I said, yeah, I don't care if you do, but keep it pointed safe and at a safe direction the whole time, which he did. He cocked it back, put the bolt in it.
Now, is this somebody that you knew?
No, this first time I met him.
Okay.
And we've done this in the past. I mean, we've done it in the past, and that's part of the issue with sometimes when accidents happen. It's complacency. You just get laid back. You don't think of the dangers sometimes.
Sure.
So again, Gary takes off with Jewel, and we're falling behind him. And the hunter's at my side at that time, and I could see him. He's holding the crossbow, pointing it up and away from us. And Gary ends up going on with the track a bit, and the deer kind of does a loop in the CRP, and we're jumping deer out all over the place. There's does and everything jumping out in the CRP there all over. Gary ends up doing a loop with the dog. She's coming back into the woods now, a ways into the woods, and he's hollering out blood. As he steps into the woods there, I'm I got this on video. I'm videotaping with my cell phone at the time. And so I'm watching where he last said blood, so I can show the hunter when we get up there, there's your blood, there's where your deer's at. So I can confirm and back up Gary and stuff too as well, let the hunter know we're still on it. So I'm looking at that spot where I'm stepping in the woods, and next thing you know, it's like I'm falling down. So something took me out. I thought, what the hell did I just trip over at first of all, my first thought. But I heard the crossbow go off. Gary did too. He'll tell you about that here in a second, but it just knocked me on my ass. I mean, he was only like less than 10 yards behind me, and that Raven crossbow went off and blew through right below my knee on my right leg and went right through my leg and was sticking through the front of my leg with that 2-inch rage out there.
From the time it hit you, you said, you thought you got, how long did it take you to realize? I mean, a second?
It was. I mean,
yeah.
It just,
you look down and you see it.
Yeah, I was in shock at first. And like I said, I've got it all on video and stuff. And immediately once I looked down, the first thing I started to do is start dropping F-bombs.
Sure.
It's like, I just got shot,
Right.
And Gary turns around. He's a certified first responder, so that's great.
How awesome is that?
And that situation was very good. Gary, you tell him what you thought at the time then.
Now, how far are you away from when he gets shot?
I was only 20 yards in front of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it would have been up higher, it would have got both of us because I was straight line with him.
Yeah.
And
Did you hear it go off?
oh yeah,
Oh, everybody knows that distinct
yeah,
sound.
yeah.
yeah.
That's a twang that you know. Yeah.
Yep, I heard it go off, and immediately I turned around, and he was laying on his stomach, and I thought, oh, no. It got him through the back and the stomach. So I tied Jewel up real fast and went back over, and we got him rolled over, and I seen it was sticking out his leg, and I thought, oh, thank God.
Oh, man.
So he got up against a tree, and he tried to cock his leg up, but that didn't work. So I cut his pants a little bit to see in there if the blood was coming out, and it wasn't bleeding that bad. And he kept thinking it was. He said, blood's pouring down my leg. I said, no, it ain't. And then the hunter, he's in shock.
Yeah. And all three of us here would be the same way. It was a total accident. We'll go into it here a little bit more, maybe what happened, whatever, but he was in shock.
Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah, he felt horrible.
Well, had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't know how to call 911. I told him call 911. He asked me, he says, how you do that?
Oh, so he was really
He was in bad shock.
Stressful situations do a lot to people.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, and then when you know the responsibility of knowing I'm the guy that just did this.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yep. I tried
but it didn't help at the time.
No.
No.
No. And I
So
tried
your partner's got a bolt
sticking out his leg, and I was trying to get him to talk to 911, but yet he kept rattling on, didn't know what to do, and then finally I got him calmed down where he talked. Then I tried to send him out to the road 3 times. Then he kept coming back. What am I supposed to do? And I said, you got to go out and stand on the road, wait for the ambulance stuff, show him where to come in. So he started back out, and here he come back. He said, what am I supposed to do? I said, just go stand on the road. Finally got out there, then I can hear him talking on the road. But he got him in there.
Now, as a first responder, I know you're thinking femoral artery because that runs all the way down.
That's what I was soon. That's why I hurried up and looked to see what the blood was doing. Because if it was gushing out, I was going to have to put a tourniquet to clear up by his crotch to hold it.
And gosh, that's bad juju there.
And you got to tighten it to almost squeeze his leg off to get it.
Oh, man.
So at the time, so Gary unscrewed that broadhead too, so nobody else would get cut on it. You know, the first responders finally got there, the fire department and whatnot.
How long did it take them?
The ambulance.
Probably 10 minutes.
Was that
15
what it was?
Yeah.
Man, it seemed longer.
As soon as
I'm sure.
As soon as he talked to him on the phone, then I could hear the sirens coming from the place where they come from.
Well, that's really good. I mean, for out here in these rural areas, 10, 15 minutes is a pretty darn good response time.
Yeah, I could hear them leaving town, and once they said somebody got shot, boom, they was coming.
Yeah.
So the fire department there, the local fire department come in and they did some dressing on it and stuff and cleaned it up. Gary had unscrewed the broadhead off. Smart enough to do that because somebody could get cut on that just sticking out.
Yeah.
You know, in the meantime, I sent a picture to my boss too with that arrow that bolt through my leg. Said, "Hey, I ain't coming in tomorrow." And he thought I was punking him. He thought, that's it.
This is before the ambulance even gets there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, they thought I was joking him. And then the next picture I sent him later, I'm on a helicopter, and he's like, "You ain't faking that one."
Yeah. Holy cow.
But so they decided the proximity of where the artery was and stuff. They didn't want to take it out. They didn't want to do nothing. Wise idea, I guess. And that they called in the helicopter. And luckily, it was right. I was right there by the edge of the woods. I was able to land in the CRP. Perfect LZ for the helicopter and stuff. Got me on the helicopter, flew me out. When they lifted off, the pilot, I never will forget, the pilot asked me, "You got any questions?" I said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "I'm pretty damn sure that deer's dead in that woods. Just lift up, circle that woods, we'll find it." And no, we're going to go to St. Louis. No time for that. Yeah. And so Gary, what happened after the bird took off with me, Gary?
Well, we had to stay there. Had to give all our information stuff, and it was probably an hour later that we finally go back on the track. But
it took you about an hour to get back on the track.
Yeah, then the game warden, he wanted to go with us to make sure we was tracking deer. So,
well, what do you think? What would they think you were doing?
I don't know. I think he wanted to see the deer.
Yeah,
because they said it was a big one.
It was an impressive deer.
Yeah, it was a big one. And yeah, he went with us and he seen it and he left us and then away we went. It was 80 yards from where the accident happened.
80 yards away.
Yep.
That close. Yeah.
So what? I don't want to get too into, I guess, the hunter. But what did the hunter? Was he there with you still?
Yeah.
And was he?
Then his dad come. He was still in a little bit of shock, but
I bet
after he got the deer and stuff, he was loosening back up.
Right.
Yep. So and how it happened is I can never really honestly say, because at that point, like I said, I've got it on video, me falling down and cussing and the bolt in my leg and the hunter coming up there. I don't have eyes in the back of my head, so I don't know what happened. The hunter swears he had the safety on and he kind of stumbled at the time. So there again, I really don't know. We don't know what happened. I know it was an accident. It was definitely nothing on purpose.
Sure.
And I don't know whether there was something defective with the crossbow. I'm not saying that either. Just I don't know what happened.
Right.
I really don't, because I don't have those eyes in the back of my head. Just a very unfortunate accident. And talking about that femoral artery you mentioned about, after my surgery, they flew me over to St. Louis, had that 2-hour surgery. And after the surgery, I asked the doctor, I said, "How close was that to the femoral artery?" And she said 1 centimeter.
Oh, man.
So, and it was a vertical 2-inch cut, rage broadhead. So it went through vertically, had it turned and went through horizontally.
It'd have got it.
2 inches is a centimeter is way less than 2 inches.
Oh yeah.
So it would have got.
It would have definitely hit that artery. And
so
then
you talk about freaking close.
It's one of those things you hate to say it, but if it's going to happen, that's everything kind of transpired the way you've got the right guy out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's by the grace of God that we're sitting here talking.
Totally.
I mean, that's okay. So getting shot with a crossbow is I can only imagine that's a pretty freaky thing. That's only half of it.
Yeah.
That's only half of this.
Yeah.
So you're on the bird. They get you down to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You go through.
So at that time, COVID was still kind of in the picture a little bit in the medical facilities. They actually did a COVID test on me, swab my nose. Sure enough, they come back 30 minutes later. Yeah, you're COVID positive. And it's weird. You know how COVID works. I've had it like 3 times confirmed. First time kicked my ass.
Of course you had COVID.
Yeah. They're going to charge me a little more on this.
Yeah, you got a crossbow sticking out of your leg and we're worried about,
So, it's like, just what I needed on top of all. And that's the crazy thing, though. I had no idea. Here I am tracking deer and not a symptom to the world, but yet that showed up positive.
Sure.
And our day was planned. We was going to go up to Springfield after that track, and had a big deer to track. But that's how these things happen so quick, and out of this bad event happening, I try to make some good of it. We do go to hunter safety classes, and I'll play the video and talk about it and stuff. I'm fortunate enough to share that story with the young kids and stuff. But back to the story on that, and also it was an eye-opener to a lot of my fellow trackers. Throughout the other states, we all network. There's an organization called the United Blood Trackers, and I've met a lot of guys that I would never met in my life if it wasn't for this organization. But we got something in common. We all track deer and got the love of it and got dogs and stuff. But I met some of these guys from the other states, and they've got a hold of me since then and said, man, we've changed our policy too. We're not going to allow any loaded hunting devices. It's just after what happened to you.
Right.
So it was a good eye-opener for a lot of people.
Or at least I wouldn't have them behind me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So back to that story, the surgery, 2-hour surgery, and she said, like I said, it was a centimeter away from the femoral artery. But when I was laying there before the surgery, I was kind of a freak laying there on the table because in St. Louis, they deal with gunshot wounds more than they'd never seen an artery wound before. So everybody on the floor had to come and see what this was all about. Like, what kind of
You're a
weird shit?
celebrity.
Yeah, you know, I'm a freak for sure. But they was just intrigued by it, wanted to see. So the doctor, I even tried to, she had no idea what she was dealing with. She didn't know which way it went through. It come from the back or the front. She thought it got shot from the front. So I had to, thank God for Google. I just Googled what a crossbow bolt looked like. I said, basically, when you get in there, you're going to find the fletchings and a knock in there and the rest of the bolt. And that kind of helped them give an insight on the surgery. So, but I neglected to tell them after the surgery. It was a 2-hour surgery. They ended up putting 2 screws permanently in the bone because it went right through the bone, broke the bone. But that'd be a good motto for a broadhead, but Muzzy done did that. Bad to the bone.
Bad to the bone, yeah.
But anyway, she told me after the surgery, said, that really freaked us out when we was doing that surgery and cut you open. There was a light inside your leg blinking. Oh, shit, I forgot to tell them.
Yeah, about the lighted knob.
Yeah, and it really had them puzzled when they made that cut and incision. And they're looking in there. It's like, what in the hell? There's a light flashing in this guy's leg, So we got through that 2-hour surgery, and they put me in a special COVID room after the surgery. And there was another fella in there, and that guy was hacking his lungs out, constantly coughing. And Tara, my wife, she'd said, if you ain't got COVID, because you don't know how accurate these tests are, said, you probably got it now because this guy is hacking his lungs out.
Right.
I said, yeah, you're probably right, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. The food sucked. It's just wanting to nobody likes being in the hospital. So they told me, said, we're going to have a therapist come in the following day after the surgery, and if you can do these 3 things, we'll probably dismiss you. And I was weight bearing at the time after the surgery. The screws were.
So this is the next day. So you got shot the day before.
Yeah.
So next day, okay.
Next day after the surgery, in the room, COVID room, and the physical therapist come up, and I had to step up on a box and walk forwards and backwards, and I did all that. I was like, I'm ready to go. Get me out of here. And they said, okay, you did it. We're going to dismiss you. And there again, it's kind of like in hunting, and after you shoot a big deer, the wait takes forever. It just took forever to get all the paperwork processed, to get me clearance to get out. Finally, that evening, I get officially dismissed. And the wife drove a white minivan, Chrysler Dodge minivan at the time, Town and Country, had tinted windows, and it was perfect to haul me in because I couldn't bend my leg. Wasn't that mobile, so she had folded down all the rear seats and given me plenty of room in the back.
Sure.
And so she pulls up the Barnes Jewish underneath the canopy there where everybody loads and unloads, and they're wheeling me down to the van, and I get out of the wheelchair, slide into the van, laying down, getting ready to leave, and I told Tara, I said, oh, crap, I forgot the freaking urinal up there. We need that urinal. It's like, I know I paid $50 for that thing, and it's only worth $5, but it's a practical item right now. It's it's a pain in the ass to get in and out of bed. Sure. I need that urinal, so just run up and get it real quick. So she did that. She pulls up out of the way because there's people loading up behind us, so we want to get out of their way. So she pulls up out of the way, leaves the van running, and the front window's down. She goes up to get that, and while she's gone, this individual jumps in there and starts pulling off, and I don't know him. It's like, whoa. I remember this vividly. I said, whoa, dude, what are you doing? And he fired right back. He said, I'm security. I got to move your van. Well,
did you know it was BS or?
Oh, hell, he had his hat on sideways, cigarette hanging up, baggy clothes. And like, what are you, undercover security or what? No, I knew this guy wasn't security. Usually security's wearing a security hat or a jacket or something. But no, this wasn't. So then I'm thinking, shit, now what? So I'm watching him as we're he's pulling out of the freaking parking lot away from the hospital. And I think it's Kings Boulevard. It's the name of the road back there behind Barnes Jewish. And he turns on the maid drag. It's like, I just freaking got kidnapped, dude. And I'm not the best of myself.
I don't mean to laugh. It's funny.
No, we laugh about it.
Back.
Yeah.
You just got shot. You just got out of surgery. And now you got kidnapped.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't make it up.
You can't. I mean, you can't.
So, what do I do now? I'm laying there, and I can't defend myself. I'm messed up on the medicine. Yeah, and the leg's messed up. And so I just start telling him the story, what happened. Hey, dude, I got COVID, told him that. I said, I just got shot yesterday, had surgery. I'm just getting out of here trying to get home. And the guy keeps driving. He never looks back and acknowledges me, and never says nothing. And he goes down a few blocks, turns in, and comes to like a 4-way stop, I think there's where he stopped at. And he mumbled something. I never did hear what he said, but he mumbled something. And he gets out, puts it in park, gets out and takes off running and leaves the door open. Well, I didn't know what he's doing. I thought maybe he's going to get his friends. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes off running. Well, that left the vehicle sitting there running. People saw him running from the vehicle with the door open, so they started calling the cops. All of a sudden, the bicycle cops are swarming around the van and find me and wanting to know what's going on. So the big deal was, though, is when Tara comes down with the urinal and the van's not there. You know what I mean?
What did she say? What she thought originally? I mean, did she think
she thought I was punking her? Because I do it all the time. Right. Me and Gary is always punking somebody, having fun. We're just having a good time,
Right.
And she thought that's originally what she thought. She thought, how the hell did he? And then she realized there ain't no freaking way.
Right.
There's no way he could have gotten that front seat the way he's messed up. Well, unfortunately, Tara's cell phone and her purse was right there between the seats when the guy took off. He didn't grab him, thankfully, but she had no way to contact me.
Oh, man.
And, she comes down, the van's gone. She don't have her cell phone. Like, now what? So I'm sitting there being interviewed by the cops, and I get a phone call from a Missouri phone number. And at the time, I'm thinking, well, it's somebody wanting a deer track, or it's Tara borrowing somebody's phone.
Right.
And it ended up being Tara. She had borrowed some guy's phone in the lobby, called my number and got a hold of me and like, where are you at? I said, I don't know, but they're gonna
I just got kidnapped.
Yeah.
What?
And they're gonna hook us up here. That they'll get me to you or you to me, one or the other. It's gonna happen. They'll figure this out.
Right.
But
did they ever catch the guy?
No.
Of course not.
No.
Yeah.
And they got surveillance cameras they had it all on video, but the guy was concealed enough that they couldn't.
And that's not. They deal with so many people getting killed.
Shoot.
I mean, that's nothing to them.
We laugh about it. I still laugh about it, but even the cops laughed about it that night. It's like, we never had this happen before. Somebody kidnapped the car. But St. Louis is a rough town.
Oh, it's a crazy town. It's one of the worst in the country.
Well,
I mean, as far as crime rates go, murder rates and all that per capita, I think it's number 1 or 2.
My daughter, a little before this all happened, was a ER nurse over at Mercy Hospital in St. Louis. And she advised me, said, if you ever come over here, Dad, don't look over to other people when you're driving. They'll shoot you. There's people getting shot because you just look over at somebody. They'll shoot you. And she's seeing that stuff by working in the ER, and that's what happens. There's no value to life.
No respect for human life whatsoever. Yeah, it's tragic. Okay, so I'm still kind of stuck on this. The mindset of how many hours before were you out in the woods from the time you're kidnapped? I mean, ballpark. Are we talking 36 hours? Are we talking 40? Well, it wasn't 48.
No,
it would have been more than probably 30 some hours.
Yeah, it's roughly around there.
So you go from blood trailing deer, which is something not many people do today.
No.
There aren't many houndsmen that are blood trailing deer.
Yeah.
To getting shot and getting kidnapped in St. Louis, Missouri. That's just now. When did you find out, Gary, about him getting kidnapped down there? Was that a?
That was the same night he did it. They called me.
What did you think? Were you?
I thought he was buffaloing me.
Right, yeah.
I said there ain't no way that happened.
Not after this.
Then Tara called and said it did happen. So then I believed him.
Yeah.
I've always said, kind of a retirement project was maybe going to sit down and write a book. I want to do that, and it's like, wow, there's a whole chapter right there. You know what I mean? That one day.
They could make a movie about that. I mean, that's just something that you don't hear about that. But man, that's crazy. That's just nuts.
Well, and that's life. It just in an instant and a heartbeat, weird things can happen pretty damn quick. You can't take nothing for granted. It's just you never know.
And I think the older you get, the more you start to really realize that how tragic things can, I mean, bam, things can go bad.
Well, there's a certain age, I think you start reading obituaries, and then you start seeing those ages the same as you or younger. It's like, that's a reality check right there.
Yeah.
And
you start thinking about your own mortality, and then especially when you're laying there in the field with a crossbow through your leg, not knowing if it hit one of the big ones or not,
Yeah. Very, very blessed in that ordeal. Like I said, it just a horrible accident, and thankful that Gary was there to keep it all cool and going.
And you went tracking afterwards.
Yep, after it's all over.
Which I guess really at that point, once he's on the bird and he's loaded up, there's really nothing you can do.
Nothing to do but find the deer I was after.
And you found it.
Found it.
Yeah.
And that was a huge relief for me too. It wasn't a wasted trip.
Yeah. Gosh, is there any? Obviously, that's got to be the craziest one you've been on.
Yeah. That's the highlight.
I mean,
story.
you can't. I hope you never top that one. What's your favorite, or any come back to your mind of some of your favorite trails that you?
Gary, what's your favorite? And I'll tell him.
The little girls. The girl down Southern Illinois.
Down at Fairfield?
Yep.
That was just last season, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What?
I got a big hit for kids.
Right. Got a soft spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super, super tough track, though.
Yeah, it was.
It was the biggest deer it was for a hunting group, actually. There were several country singers that hunt down there in this hunting club. And that was the biggest deer that everybody's after. All the grown men were after this deer, and this young girl from Florida ended up getting him. How old was she?
13? 12.
12. But just emotional deal between her and her dad on this, and she got the big deer on the farm and stuff. And
well, what happened? His dad, her grandpa died.
Yeah, that's right.
And told her to go kill that deer.
Yeah.
And she did.
And
holy cow.
There's a lot of individual stories to a lot of hunts. Everybody's got their own thing, and there's so many little things that can.
There is a spirituality.
Yes, that's the word right there.
With hunting, and I don't care. And most of us, I guess, probably grew up hunting squirrel and rabbit. Small games. How I started out. But when you get to big game, and I don't know, there's just something different, and whether you go back to your Native American tribes, our European ancestors, wherever, everybody throughout the world, no matter what tribe they come from, there's a spirituality with providing meat.
Yep, there is.
Yeah.
And I think that gets missed a lot,
Well, I got tons of stories, but one that just kind of pops in my head. I know I've talked about Friday the 13th where we recovered 9 deer on 9 tracks. That's just a very unusual thing in a 24-hour period. And a simple thing to that was the reason that happened was we was tracking 9 dead deer. And I'll just go into quick details on that story, but I'll tell you the one of the stories that I like that brought a memory to me here. That on Friday the 13th, November 20th, or the year 2020, Friday the 13th, we started out at Mode, and then we went over to help me think of it, Gary. Fillmore. Then up to Long Creek up near Decatur.
Yeah.
Dropped down to Shelbyville. Went over to Ashmore by Charleston.
Yep.
Then Casey, Greenup, Mount Vernon, and T-Town.
Yep.
All within a 24-hour
So
period.
basically from Decatur to Mount Vernon to Charleston to Fillmore.
Big old circle loop
Oh.
kind of, yeah. And that's prime rut, November 13th. Phone's blowing up, I'm handing out calls to other guys I know that are trackers and stuff, and just telling some people we can't get to you. We're booked. We're trying to do this logistically the best we can. It's just the route we ended up taking that day. And I think it was after the Long Creek track, we heard the forecast. It was going to rain the next day on Saturday, the whole day. So Gary looked at me and said, "You just want to run DO all night?" And that's what we ended up doing. And all them deer were dead. That was the biggest variable in finding recovering a deer if the deer is dead or not.
Right.
Whether we're going to put on the tailgate. So
Sure.
9 deer, and that was a 24-hour period. Nine tracks, nine deer, and I don't know how many miles that was. I used to have that number in my head, but that's quite a few miles looping around.
Well, not only that, but also if it's an easy track, people aren't calling you. No, you guys are getting. I mean, if I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling you, it's because I've done everything I know to do. And it's a Hail Mary, man.
Yep.
Maybe these guys can come in and
that's what I mean. I could write almost a book on that one day and 9 different tracks because they're all inherently different. Every track was totally different. And the one, just for example, the one in Long Creek was right in town, Long Creek. We're tracking deer and people are coming out of the backyard yelling at the dog, whistling at the dog or whatever, just so many.
Boy, have you ever ran into a situation where where the hunter has to put a follow-up shot in that animal and you're inside of some kind of a suburban area where people are watching?
Yeah.
How does that go?
For the most part, we've had pretty good luck with that because a lot of the people that live in the subdivisions, whatever, are pretty upset because the deer are eating all their shrubs.
Okay.
Right. And that has the key thing is that we got to make sure when we're tracking is to make sure we got permission to be on that property.
Right.
That before we go on anybody's property, we got to have permission. State law says that.
Well, but okay, now am I right in this? Let's say somebody's hunting next to me, they shoot a deer, runs over. Let's say I got 160 acres.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't want them over here. And these people call you in. If they call the game warden, they have to allow them to you guys to come track on to my property. Is that no?
So I've always heard that the landowner trumps all, even the game warden. We just recently did another podcast and that guy said he talked to a game warden. And the game warden can go in and get that deer if you know it's dead there. So I'm not going to legally say, but I've always heard the landowner trumps all.
Thought even if they say no, it's illegal wanting, waste of deer, that they have to let you. So, but I don't want you to. Okay, but the game warden can come and escort you onto that property while you're trying and stay with you to ensure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and not. But maybe not.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that 100% because I'm not 100% sure.
Well, and probably lawyers can argue both sides of that too, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And unfortunately that happens. The property lines get drawn, and sometimes they're not the best of neighbors, not the best of friends or whatever. There's something happened in the past, but that property line goes both ways. You know what I mean? If somebody's going to do that to you, then you have the right to refuse them as well.
Yeah. And to me, it's ridiculous to go to war with neighbors. That's the worst.
It's a bad
worst thing you can do.
But the problem is now we're getting a war starting with the out-of-staters leasing all the ground, and the neighbors don't like it. That's where it's coming head to head.
The leasing the ground, it becomes a money game anymore. Whoever's got the most money in leasing.
That's 90% why they won't let us on there because they say they're not from around here and they don't want them over.
Once the money came in,
it's boom, it blowed up.
But here's one point I want to bring about it. We've had guys say, "Oh, I don't want a dog coming on my ground and scaring all the deer off." That's not really the case. If you got a trained dog and knows what it's doing, it's going to stick to that scent of that deer we're looking for and take you to it. Versus I got a bunch of guys out there grid searching it and putting their scent down all over. It's not that intrusive.
And also, and I learned this from watching one of your videos. That dog is not trailing blood.
No.
Mm-mm.
The blood helps you guys locate where we need to get going.
That confirms us,
right.
That's the deer we're looking for.
But he's smelling pheromones and
out of the interdigital gland on the hooves.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, the harder the deer is hurt or shot, mortally wounded, whatever, the more that hormone it secretes. So one that's mortally wounded, it's going to turn that dog on. He's going to be going for it. It's just putting more scent down. We don't see that, but he smells it. They smell it.
Yeah.
And that's how these dogs differentiate. We're doing tracks generally. Our sweet spot's 12 hours. I like to give the deer time. Sweet spot for us is 12 to 24 hours. But we found them.
Holy cow, really?
Yeah, but we found them 55 hours was the oldest with Jewel.
Yep.
And 52 was the oldest with Dio. So you're talking 2-day-old tracks. How does a dog figure that out? Out of how many deer cross that deer's path?
Coyotes, coons, possums, you name it.
So that's part of the training. We trained them on that hoof. Well, I got frozen hooves in the freezer, and I'll go around PVC, I put it in a PVC pipe, just smash it on the ground, simulating a deer, putting that scent down from a wounded deer, the hoof, and that's how we train the dogs. And that's how these dogs pick up on it. That's how they don't get sight, a seasoned dog, that's how they do it. They pick up on that wounded scent, and once they get that established and figure that out, all that, it's on.
I'll be darned. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And here's something that really will blow your mind, because it blew my mind hearing it years ago, and I didn't believe it. I said, this is horse shit. But I'd read a post where some trackers were talking from another state saying their dogs could tell whether the deer was still alive or dead on the track. It's like, that's bull crap. And we saw that. If you think about it, like I just said earlier, the amount of that pheromone on the ground, eventually it's going to dissipate if the deer's not hurting or under stress, meaning it's probably going to survive. Dogs get to that point, Deal would do this. He would stop and he would roll on his back, and that would be our sign that deer's still alive. And
no kidding, he had a tell to kind of let you know.
That was his once he just lost interest in the track, and it's like not worth going after. And I know that sounds strange as hell, because I didn't believe it at all, but it makes sense if you think about it.
He knows.
Yep,
he knows
a seasoned dog will be that way. Not every dog's different.
Sure.
But one that does it enough and is what we call a seasoned dog, knows what it's doing, and it makes total sense.
Absolutely.
You know, and I never will forget, I got a call from a lady in Florida one year, and she was tracking a deer and said, my dogs they can track off lead down in Florida. And she said, my dogs ran the track perfectly until we came to the broken arrow, and then they couldn't they didn't know what to do. And she said, what do you think it was? Why was that? And I said, well, think about that. The arrow was in there inflicting pain to the deer as it's moving. The arrow fell out. It's like pulling a splinter out. Once you pull that splinter out, you get instant relief. That deer likely had instant relief.
Makes sense.
And the pheromone's no longer there for the dogs to smell.
I'll be darned.
That's why the dogs couldn't track it anymore. Up to that point, it was in pain, secreting that hormone, that stress hormone. So
yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Do you guys ever pull up? I'm sure this happens. And right away you're going, oh boy. Because I mean, you don't have to get specific, but you just know these guys, or even the other side of that, you pull up and you start hearing the story and deep down you're thinking, we just ain't going to find this deer.
That's why Gary handles the dog and I stay back with the hunters, because Gary wouldn't tolerate it as much as I do.
You have a little bit more better mannerisms than that.
Because I have a feeling if I handle the dog and Gary and I come back to Gary and the hunter, somebody's laying on the ground with a bloody nose and he hit me, but you don't have much time for that, Gary.
No, especially when they lie to me.
Yeah, well, no, I get, 100%.
But
and that's one thing we talked about earlier, Gary, is that I hate to call somebody a liar, but deceiving, when they deceive us or whatever, and it is a lie, but we're on their team when they call us. We're there to help them.
Sure.
It makes no sense. We're trying to help you out. We need to know everything truthfully up front.
Right.
Not say that, no, we didn't grid search, because that dog's going to tell you, right, Gary?
Yep. She'll tell you every time.
If he hits a spot and that dog is struggling, going back and forth, pretty much that tells us somebody's grid searched that, because they're picking that scent.
That's when I turn around and I embarrass them, because I caught them. Yeah. And it does too.
And you'll see the boot print or the cigarette butt on the ground.
Well, why would they? I guess I don't know why they would lie about that.
Because they don't want to tell us they went that far, because they're afraid we won't track it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, seriously.
Yeah.
That you'll just pull up and be like, guys, it ain't even worth their time. I got 5 more tracks. Sorry, I just got to go. Okay.
See, when I get out, I don't talk to him. He talks to him, and I listen. Yeah,
and you know what to listen for.
Then I catch them. Yeah, because I can hear them at the truck. They tell one. Then when you're going through the woods, they tell another. Then boom,
Yeah, and that, like I said, I hate to call anybody a liar, but it is what it is. Sometimes that deceit, for whatever reason, and any tracker is going to tell you. Anybody, if you talk to anybody that handles a dog and helps others track deer, the truth's the best thing.
Yep,
we got to have the truth. We're on your side.
I was involved in a track years ago. A guy calls me up. Anyway, we get out there. I'm like, he's wanting to start half mile, quarter mile from where he supposedly shot this deer. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we need to go back to where I want to see where you hit it. I want to see blood. Let's start there and we'll work out from there. He was an out-of-state guy.
See, that tells you a lot of detail.
100%. Well, no, I got blood over here. I said, no, I want to go back to the beginning. So we get back to the beginning. I'm looking and boy, the guy was an idiot, but I'm looking around. There's no blood. Well, I didn't find blood. I found blood down over there. And he keeps pointing. Like I said, it's about a quarter mile down the road. Well, I don't know, a couple 100 yards anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around and I look up in the tree and I see an arrow sticking out of the tree. I said, how many times I bump him and I said, there's your arrow. And he looks up, and that's when he says, well, I shot twice. So now I know he's lying. I'm a little nicer than you are, Gary. Make a long story short, this is an hour and a half into it. At this point, we're down in the creek. He wouldn't even. I'm looking for arrowheads because I'm not even because I know this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
He comes walking up. Now it's winter. He had gloves on. He comes. Well, he goes. I found some blood. He had a leaf and one little drop of blood. And that's all the blood that was ever seen in all of this. Like I said, I looked at his hands, but he was wearing gloves because I know what happened.
Yep.
I know what he did. Instead of just being a man and saying, "Oh man, But there again, why would you do that? Why would anybody? But I don't know. I guess maybe they wrap their own masculinity up. Into it
yeah, that could be some of it.
You know, but
yeah, and that's something about tracking. You know, if I can offer just a little bit of advice, I'm not telling anybody how to track, but when you're out blood trailing, the best thing you can do to help yourself and to help a dog handler is to mark that track. Mark your blood trail, but more importantly, when you get to the end of it, we call it the POL, point of loss, mark that spot well. And what I mean by well is we've had these tracks where the hunter will pin it with their phone. Technology's fine, but those pins float around. And then when we go out there to try to find that point of loss to start the dog or looking for it, we're walking all over the place, basically doing a grid search, tracking that scent up because that scent will attach to your shoes and it'll move around and those dogs struggle. But mark it well. We've had guys mark it with a stick in the middle of the woods. That's not a good idea. In the middle of a cornfield, mark it with a corn cob. That don't work either. Mark it with something man-made. Take your arrow out. If it's got a lit knock, light that knock up. That's the best point of loss reference. But toilet paper's cheap. It's biodegradable. You can leave it behind. It melts in the rain. But hang that toilet paper up 4 or 5 feet in the air so you can see it from all directions. Because if we come in and track at night, we may not come in the same way the deer trail ran. We might come in from the right, left, straight ahead, whatever. But at least we'll see that point of loss and know that's it. That's it. You know, it wastes so much time for us to go out there and look for that stick in the middle of the woods as a corn cob.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Now, do you guys adhere to the kind of the 4 hour? You get a hit, go back home, 4 hours, then go back.
It depends on the shot. If you're for sure on the shot, and we talked about this before, a minimum of 2 hours. If you think it's a heart shot and a lung shot, 2 hour wait ain't gonna hurt anything. Get the hell out of there, go home, debrief a little bit, get something to eat, just take your mind off. If it's that kind of shot, you know it is, then yeah, give it 2 hours minimum. You know, but wait and time is your best friend in these things. Jumping these deer when they're wounded, we talked about how tough deer are. They're just amazing animals, you know, and especially during the rut. But time is on your side. If you want to recover that deer, you don't want to bump that deer because if you do, they're generally bedded long enough. They're not bleeding. You're not going to be able to visually track it then. So
right.
that's when a dog's necessary. But what if you do go out there and bump that deer onto somebody's property you ain't got permission? Then you're screwed.
Right.
You know, then you go through that nightmare.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and essentially too, another train of thought is if you bump the deer and don't find it, and it was originally at 150 yards and was going to lay there and die, but you just didn't give it time, you jumped it and it already went a quarter mile in that time from the jump. You've just increased that scent trail for the coyotes to find it.
Right. Well, yeah, and I'm sure
those coyotes are the best tracking dog in the world.
They're tuned in. That's their
They're
survival.
tuned. Yeah, they don't have somebody feeding.
They don't
them.
do it. They die.
They don't have somebody feeding them dog food like we do our dogs. You know, they got lit, and they pick up on that wounded deer scent just like our trained dogs do. So you take a big chance of a lose-lose situation by jumping that deer, getting down to it. Time is on your side, and granted, I get it. Nothing like shooting a deer, and if you want time speeds up as you get older. I'll testify to that. You will too.
100%.
But if you want time to creep down, go shoot a big deer and then wait.
Yep.
Because these guys, when they call me and they know they've got that big deer, but the blood's not there, or they've tracked it and they've jumped it or whatever, and I'll tell them we're going to wait. You know, just like the guy that accidentally shot me, target deer. We're going to wait. We're going to give the deer time, you know, but they don't. The first thing I'll ask them is, how'd you sleep last night? Not with a damn, you know. And it's always the same. It just time creeps by.
Yeah.
And you're sick to your stomach because every thought's going through your head.
Coyotes are eating it, or it's
what
gone.
You try to recall the shot. Was it as good as what I thought it was? What the hell happened? It all
things.
it all runs through your head.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in. I could sit here and talk to you guys all day, but I know you're busy. But before we go, how do people get a hold of you guys? They stuck a deer, it ran off. What's the best way? And also your form of payment.
Yeah. So on that, basically, I generally do everything through social media on Facebook only. I don't have Instagram or that. So generally it's Facebook. You can follow me there. But call my phone. Texting, I prefer text, especially during the season, because there's areas like trying to find your place. We had no signal.
Right.
And text will most times go through. Texting's best my number, but it's on my Facebook page. But also through that Illinois Deer Trackers Network, I'm listed on there as well as a lot of other guys I know that are experienced. And
so they just type in Ron Slifer on Facebook, Ron Slifer Bloodhound.
Slifer's Bloodhound Service.
Slifer's Bloodhounds.
Yeah, do a search on that and it'll pop up.
Okay.
And you can get the info there. And as far as payment, I've always done it this way in the past, and sometimes we get burnt. Sometimes, it's not a great profitable deal, but don't really have a set fee. I'll let the hunter decide, what it's worth to them, but hopefully they take that in consideration. Fuel cost ain't nothing cheap anymore, and I'm not in it as a business, so to speak. We enjoy what we do. We want to recover deer.
But you've got time. You've got fuel. You've got wear and tear on the vehicle. You've got feeding the dogs. We got
feeding Gary.
Hours.
I got to feed Gary at Casey's. We live off Casey's. And that's the funny thing. Guys will say, "Man, you ought to be fit as a fiddle." It's like, no.
Well, you're pretty fit though. I mean, you guys look like you're in good shape.
It may look like it, but it's deceiving. But I'm telling you, when you're out on the road like that, to the extent we are, where we're not sleeping very much, especially during November, we've slept in the vehicle before just because we're so far from home. And I fell asleep going home before on these tracks. It's not freaking worth it. Yeah. It's not worth endangering myself, the dog, or anybody else.
Sure.
I'll pull alongside the road, sleep in a parking lot or whatever, sleep in a vehicle, and then get up and go 2 or 3 hours later to the next track because it's short-lived. We know deer season's only so long. Rut is only so long. So we get it while we can get it. We burn the candle at both ends. So your body's just breaking down. Your what is that, cortisol, the stress hormone. Yeah. It's building up your body. You're not eating healthy. You're eating Casey's donuts and Casey's pizza.
Right.
Because there's Casey's in every little town.
Washing it down with coffee.
Yeah. Or soda. But, so we actually gain weight during the season, which don't seem right because we're running our ass off. But we've gained weight every freaking season we go out, don't we, Gary?
Well, not getting good rest and a poor diet will do it, even though you're burning a lot of calories off.
It's stressful in the body, but we enjoy what we do.
How many shotgun? Did you get many shotgun recoveries? I'm guessing it's mainly.
So ironically, no, our recovery rate goes down.
This year.
Yeah.
It goes down.
Because of the 350s, Legends.
Yeah. Yeah, the smaller caliber, they're just, that rifle thing, that's a whole new topic. We could talk all day on that too, but I think a lot of the deer we get during gun season, they might be high hit in the back or the spine, and that's so deceiving because those deer will drop. And I always say, the hunter will say, it dropped like a sack of potatoes, And some guys will actually take a picture of the deer from the stand, and they'll send me the picture, but the deer's not there. They're calling me. It's like the deer just got up and took off. Well, they shot too high, and there's a spinal processes that come off the back of the spine when you filter or clean a deer up. That those spines, processes, bones that stick up between the back straps.
The back strap, right?
Yeah, they'll hit those, and those will rattle or vibrate.
Oh, I never thought break it off, kind of, then it'll
affect the nerves, and it'll drop a deer just like that. And you'll think it's, oh man, I just killed that freaking deer,
right?
And it just temporarily paralyzes it, and they come to. It might be a minute, it could be an hour later, but they come back to, and they're gone. And we don't recover a lot of those, That's what I always tell guys during gun season. Every year I put a post on. You shoot a deer, and it goes down right there. Slug don't cost much, really.
Right.
Put another one in it just to be safe. I'm telling you, or be ready because it might not be dead. And it happens every year. We get those calls.
Because when they come up, they're gone.
Yeah.
They ain't waiting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They know they've been hit.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, guys, thank you so much. Gary, Ron, it's great to have you guys in here.
A lot of fun.
And good. And anybody out there, you shoot one you're not sure about, these are the guys to call. Give them a holler.
Yeah.
And anything else you guys have to add?
Just be safe, guys. I mean, I deal with a lot of people. Me and Gary talk to a lot of people throughout the state and a lot of hunters, and so many people follow a tree stand.
Yep.
And no safety restraint or something. it's so dangerous, man. It's it's just
That's
we
something
overlook that.
That's something I'm bad about because
Check-
I hunt out of louder stands.
Check
now.
them straps and cables before you get up in it today. But go out a week before and check all that. Don't go out in the dark and get up in it because you're going to hit the ground.
It's a life-changing event. I know several guys that's got, out of work for years and crippled up, or a couple of guys have got killed falling. You don't have to fall very far.
I know of several the same thing, very severe.
And it's a
death
sad
or-
deal.
Yeah. And there again, it's easily, it's easy, something that you can, like you say, take a little bit of time, throw an extra strap or two, and
Because them squirrels like to chew on everything. Cables, straps, anything you got, they chew on it.
you ain't a kidding. Yep. So, all right, guys, thank you again. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
awesome.
And
Good luck, everyone.
Yep. All righty, we'll talk at you.